Breaking tonight, Michael Cohen, President Trump's former attorney, is claiming the president knew in advance about that Trump Tower meeting back in June 2016, in which Russians were supposedly going to offer campaign dirt on Hillary Clinton. That, according to CNN. Of course, in all their breathless coverage, they seem to be ignoring the important nugget. Quote, to be clear, these sources said Cohen does not have evidence, such as audio recordings, to corroborate his claim. But he is willing to attest to his account. Here now to react, former U.S. Attorney and Fox News contributor Andy McCarthy and Wall Street Journal columnist Kim Strassel. Welcome to both of you. Andy, let's start with you here. Boy, it seems like Michael Cohen's gotten very talkative, wants a lot of stuff coming out over the last few days. What do you make of this latest claim?
Well, I think he's had a change in posture over the last number of weeks. The retention of Lanny Davis certainly was an indicator of that. I think the big problem he'll have, if this is actually his version of events, is apparently he has talked about this before in prior testimony and prior interviews and evidently did not cough this up. I've always thought that if Mueller believed that Cohen was somehow the key to proving a collusion case against Trump, there's no way he lets that case walk to the Southern District of New York. So I'd be surprised if this links up to anything that's serious in the way of collusion, like an espionage conspiracy. But look, the Trump Tower meeting is bad. It's not collusion in the sense that they opened the investigation over.
But Andy, hold on.
No one's going to look good at this.
Yeah, but Andy, as we talk about this, I think we forget Hillary Clinton paid for dirt that was assembled by the Russians in the form of the Steele dossier. So she actually went further than meeting with someone. Her people paid for it. They got dirt, and then it ended up making its way all the way through the U.S. government.
Laura,
so it's a big deal.
No, well, look, I don't think that it's bad if campaigns are turning to foreign governments for dirt. It's not collusion. It's not something that's impeachable. It's icky. But that's what this is.
Kimberly, let's go to you on this. Rudy Giuliani was on CNN as this came out, and he had a comment about the veracity of Mr. Cohen. Let's watch.
There's nobody that I know that knows him that hasn't warned me that if his back is up against the wall, he'll lie like crazy, because he's lied all his life.
Wow, war of words. That seems like it probably only stoked Cohen to release more information.
Well, just the kind of guy you want as a lawyer, right? But
yeah.
Look, I think the issue here is first you got to decide whether or not you believe the CNN reporting. And there has been a lot of breathless reporting out there that has turned out not to be correct. Then, even if it is correct, you have to decide if you believe Mr. Cohen now versus what, as Andy said, he might have said in the past, and whether or not there's any evidence, which apparently there is not, in which case this may come down to a case of he said versus three other he saids saying the opposite. But, I mean, what Andy said is true. It kind of looks icky, but I think the bigger point here is there a crime? Right. And it's obviously was not a crime for Trump Jr. to meet with this Russian national and find out what she had to talk about. It's also not a crime for Mr. Trump to have had prior knowledge of it either, Mr. Trump Sr., the president. The question is he ever under oath said that he didn't know? Was he in any situation where he might be viewed as having lied to federal law enforcement? I'm not really sure that's the case. So it's another potentially bad headline if it's true, but I'm not necessarily sure it's any legal jeopardy.
Yeah, and Andy, this Veselnitska woman was there to push the Magnitsky Act. Like, she was trying to get him to push Congress on that Magnitsky Act because of Russian adoption. I mean, the whole thing was nothing to do with Hillary. So it was a big scam, big play, and they were all, it sounds like they were all played in that meeting. Jared was bored. I think he got up and walked out, or Manafort walked out. And so it was a big nothing. But if this is where they are now, Andy, on this level, and we're going to get to the Twitter issue in a moment, what does this tell you about the state of the Mueller investigation?
It seems to me that the Mueller investigation is winding down to a conclusion. That investigation, or that indictment that they brought recently against the 12 Russians who are actually intelligence officers, I don't think that's the kind of thing that you should indict. But putting that aside, if you read the indictment and the logic of it, it kind of excludes the possibility that there could have been the kind of espionage conspiracy that everybody was so whipped up about that caused the investigation to start in the first place and led to Mueller's appointment. So if it is winding down, I sure hope it's winding down, because it seems like it ought to.
Yeah, this report out today that Mueller is looking through the president's tweets.
Yeah, well, who thought he wasn't? Who thought he wasn't? I've been looking at them, too. Kim, have you been looking at them? I've been looking at them.
Kimberly's
I've been looking at them, too.
But I got to play this for you guys, because Preet Bharara, of course, former U.S. Attorney, Southern District, Preet Bharara was on CNN today with Wolf Blitzer, and they were all excited about this tweet story. Let's watch.
The tweets that he sends late at night and early in the morning, and often out of anger, I think go some way to showing what his state of mind was. And to prove obstruction.
I'm quoting Giuliani now. If you're going to obstruct justice, you do it quietly and secretly, not in public. What do you make of that?
Well, yes, what Rudy Giuliani says is the norm. This president likes to break norms, and maybe he likes to violate the law in a way that breaks norms as well.
Kimberly.
The cheerleading here is extraordinary, but we have been witnessing this now for going on 2 years. And as I just said, headline after headline saying, oh, definitely collusion, and then, oh, obstruction of justice. And really, it will only be a few weeks now. And look what Mueller is looking at this point. And nothing has come of it so far, other than those indictments we've had related to charges that have nothing to do with either of those two central topics or anything that the press is actively pressing for. So, I mean, I agree with Andy. I would wish that if Mueller has decided that he has decided that Trump is not a target, that he's not going down the road, that even if he's still wrapping up his probe, that he'd feel he'd had a duty to tell the country that the president is no longer a target so that people can start to move on.
Andy Turley said earlier today that, if this is where they are looking over tweets, then this is just like the dregs. Like, this is, I mean, it's just ridiculous. I'm sorry. Now we're at tweets and what... interviews. I mean, this is all public stuff. How are you obstructing an investigation with public comments? I'm not folling that. I guess it's possible, but I don't follow that.
Yeah, but see, the whole thing, Laura, is preposterous because, with due respect to Preet, to have state of mind or criminal state of mind is irrelevant unless you've done something that actually can amount to obstruction. The president cannot obstruct justice by taking lawful actions that are within his constitutional prerogatives, like pardoning people or firing Comey or weighing in on whether somebody should be prosecuted, which prosecutors across this country do every day.
Or complaining that Jeff Sessions didn't recuse himself.
Right.
That's not obstructing. That's an opinion.
No, I understand.
Crazy.
Yeah, I understand the style problem. Like, they don't like the way Trump goes about things. But you still got to kind of like prove the thing that's a crime before you start worrying about what somebody's state of mind was.
Yeah, but a former U.S. attorney in New York like Preet Bharara should know better. I mean, I know he's on CNN, but you got to know better. You can't say that on television. Fantastic conversation, guys. Thanks so much.